back. Josh and I recently saw Focus, and it is a Will Smith and Margot Robbie movie. It is the pre-Suicide Squad, before the Suicide Squad, and it's about Will Smith as a con man. He's basically doing all these little cons, you know, on the side. You know, he's got this huge conglomerate. There's a bunch of people doing like pickpocketing and stealing and, you know, counting cards and all this kind of stuff. And he meets Margot Robbie, who she's like, "Teach me. I want to learn this con game." So he's like, "You're a small-time pickpocket, I'll teach you, but you know, you gotta give me a little something, you know." So they start getting into this little like love relationship, and basically the whole movie revolves around who's conning who and who's telling the truth.
And I mean, it's a much better movie than I expected. Like, going into this, you see Will Smith, you're like, at least Jaden's not in it,
right?
So you're watching this, and it starts off great, and you get introduced to these characters. And honestly, the first half of the movie, I think, was the most exciting part, because halfway through, it kind of changes, because that's when the big reveal happens. And then the second half of the movie is supposed to be like the next big reveal, but it felt kind of flat to me, especially the ending when we find out everything that's been going on. I'm like, all right, okay. It's not as big as a payoff as they were trying to make it to be, but the first half was really good. I really liked it. Mm-hmm. Especially there's a scene where Will Smith he has a gambling problem, and they say that a lot. And he ends up gambling versus this Asian man. I don't know. He's supposed to be some, you know, exotic billionaire at this Rhinos versus Triceratops football game in the Super Bowl in New Orleans.
Yeah.
And he just keeps gambling, and you're like, "Stop, Will! Stop gambling!"
And then that gets turned on its head.
And then it gets turned on its head, and you find out that was a con to begin with. And I was like, "That's smart. That's really good." But the rest of the movie really relied on doing that same thing over and over, and I think that's really where the movie suffers.
Well, I mean, I feel like the movie was basically Margot Robbie and Will Smith's relationship, which, it was a good relationship. They had great chemistry in the movie, and it really relied on that, and they did a great job as an actor and actress to portray that. But the whole point of, we made a point of, it's called M. Night Shyamalaning. Like, it basically is like, everything, it was my plan all along, and it's kind of like everything wraps up a little too neatly. I mean, it was a good movie for what it was. It was a con man movie. It was like, who's trying to... So the marketing in this movie was really weird. And the marketing was, it was like, who's conning who? And it's like, they weren't conning each other, like, at all. Like, he was kind of conning her, and she was going along for the ride, and was like, "Oh, I'm, you know, trying to do this thing," and he's just like, "That has nothing to do with me." So I think the marketing felt really weird in this movie. It was, I don't know, it almost felt like a Ocean's like 11 type vibe, where they were trying to do, like, they're saying, okay, we need, this is our last gig and blah, blah. And they basically set it up like that, but it wasn't like that at all. It was basically the core story of Will Smith trying to get with Margot Robbie, he trying to push his feelings aside for her to pull off the big cons, and it was a very interesting dynamic for the two of them. I really like them both in this role. Margot Robbie, like you said, showing more acting chops. Before Suicide Squad, we get to see Will Smith a little bulked up for that dead shot role.
He was ripped, like he was about to tear someone's head off.
Yeah, he was bulked up for that dead shot role, and we get to see a little more of them together, which they have great chemistry. I think I have a lot more faith in the Suicide Squad now. And
Jake Gyllenhaal doesn't.
And one of the best things about this movie was, I can't remember his name, the fat Puerto Rican guy. He was hilarious.
The comic relief was fantastic. Like, this movie, I think you have to drum it up to a crime comedy, because it's so funny, and it's actually like a really fun movie. And I think if they would have stuck with that instead of trying to get all serious at times, that they would have had a much better job pushing this as a comedy instead of some crime con drama, which he's part of the big con that happens part through the movie, and that's just hilarious. So overall, would you recommend people go see this movie?
Not in theaters. I wouldn't recommend going to see it in theaters. If I was you, I'd wait for a VOD or wait for a Redbox or something. It's definitely worth a viewing, but if you don't go see it, it's all good, man. Like, you don't have to see this movie in theaters, but it's good enough to get a viewing of some sort.
Yeah, I'd say if you're I mean, Margot Robbie's pretty unfamiliar to us. We saw her in The Wolf of Wall Street and then this movie. And so if you want to get a good feel for Margot Robbie's acting range, I would say go watch this. But the movie itself is kind of lacking at times. So if you have to, you can wait till it comes out on DVD. Alright guys, so for those of you who've seen Focus, what do you think of it? What do you think of this review? Let us know in the comments below.
And if you like this video, don't forget to like and subscribe for more great content.